I'm Dr. Debbie Chance, and I'm an educational researcher. I've been involved in research and development for the past 35 years. Today we're going to discuss an amazing effect called the in effect, and I have some guests with me today. I have Sheila May from California and Ingrid Krlova from Slovakia. Hi. The research project that I have been involved in is based on Biology of Belief, which is a book written by Dr. Bruce Lipton, who is a cellular biologist. Dr. Bruce Lipton states in his book that the Western world is experiencing an adrenaline alert response. And in this adrenaline alert, individuals who are working in the Western world have huge workloads, they're working long hours, they're under huge conditions of stress and anxiety. And what's happening is that that's basically going into their physiology, so that they're manifesting disease, they're manifesting depression, addictions are running rampant in the Western world. So what can we do to discreate the negative types of effects in the physiology and create a new body, a healthy mind, and a healthy soul? Well, what I decided to do was to take a project and put it together, a research project based on constructive interference versus destructive interference. Constructive interference is when we start to create a physiology based on what Bruce Lipton describes as a biology that goes beyond your genes. Can we go beyond the genes so that we no longer have to think that our DNA designs what our body will manifest? Whether it designs depression based on our history, whether our parents had depression or not, or whether our parents had heart problems, can we in fact redesign our genes or go beyond our genes? So the research project that I put together goes beyond the genes. And my question was, what kinds of interventions can be done to create a new environment, a constructive interference environment, which recreates our bodies and our minds? So I went to the ashram in Bidadi, India. That's the ashram of Paramahamsa Swami Nithyananda. And he's the main intervention specialist in this project. What we have found as a result of this project is an amazing set of recoveries from a number of different illnesses. So first we'd like to talk a little bit about the experimental design. We did a pre and post experimental design. It was both quantitative and qualitative, so that we were looking at data in terms of what were the blood pressures of the people involved, what was their height, their weight, their blood sugar level, their pulse rate, and then we compared before and after. We also looked at key physical ailments, for example, depression, anxiety, insomnia, chronic fatigue syndrome. And we found that there were some amazing results in terms of all of these diseases. So what we would like to do today is focus a little bit on what are those diseases that we saw the greatest recoveries in, and we're going to talk about the in effect. And we're going to talk a little bit about some key diseases that seem to have a very strong psychosomatic connection. So we would like to report the amazing recoveries that we have had from different psychological and physical remissions for the Inner Awakening course. First, let's talk about psychological. Amazingly, we've had an 80% recovery in the area of depression, 78% recovery in anxiety, 76% recovery in anger and frustration, insecurity 63%, low mood 60%, chronic fatigue syndrome 60%, insomnia 58%, mood swings 58%, fear 57%, panic attacks 50%, lack of mental focus 50%, and fatigue or tiredness 48% recovery. Now in the area of the physical recoveries, we start with a whopping, amazing 100% recovery in the area of fibromyalgia, 75% in rheumatoid arthritis, 75% recovery in allergies, 75% recovery in asthma, digestive problems, 67% recovery, chronic headaches, 67% recovery, eating disorder including bulimia and anorexia, 60% recovery, back pain, 58% recovery, heart palpitations, 50%, chronic pain 50%, high blood pressure of 50% recovery, poor circulation 44% recovery, tinnitus or ringing of the ears 33% recovery, osteoarthritis 33%, chronic migraines 33%, sciatica 20%, and eyesight 9%. Also amazingly, 100% of the participants said they would stop taking addictive substances. 93% said they would stop drinking alcohol. 33% said they would become vegetarian, and 52% said they would stop drinking coffee. So what we would like to do today is to talk a little bit with Sheila May about her situation involving fibromyalgia, because she was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And let's look at what you were experiencing with the fibromyalgia and what happened as a result of the intervention with Swami Nithyananda.
Okay, my fibromyalgia was diagnosed in 1997, not long after I had had my ovaries removed. I started hormone replacement therapy. Then the pain set in, the muscle pain, joint pain, and I started seeing doctors, specialists, which came up with an actual diagnosis for a blood test. All the results pointed to fibromyalgia.
So there really is a blood test that can identify fibromyalgia. Because many times people are told, oh, you're just making it up, it's psychosomatic, it's not a real disease.
Yes, and I have an experience with that, because back years ago when I worked in the law office and I was assisting clients in the research and helping them to file their disability cases for compensation from the government because they had this fibromyalgia, I saw their suffering of trying to say, I really am in pain, I can't work, but no one believes me. So when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, my first thought was, oh God, I've got a psychosomatic disease, and I'm not going to admit to that. But when the doctor said, no, we have proof, we can prove that you have this autoimmune disorder, is what they were calling it, is my body attacking itself, then I relaxed into that, and I took direction from the doctors. I got caught up in this circle of medical referrals, support groups. They directed me to a support group who suggested more medications, luckily alternative therapies, because meditation was one of them. And even though I had meditated for years, meditation wasn't helping me. So I had the thought, I want an expert at meditation. And I just mentioned that in passing, and someone said, you should go see this Swamiji who's coming to this Hindu temple tomorrow. And sure enough, I went, I saw this Swami. I didn't know what a Swami was. I read up on Buddhism, I grew up Baptist, and I wasn't sure what it was he could do for me. I just thought maybe he'll be a guru. And I listened to him talk the first night, and to make a long story short, the next day he was speaking at Integris Baptist Hospital, where I was having some medical tests done. At the same time, they were working with experiments on his brain, doing PET scans of what happens in his brain when he meditates, when he heals. And I heard my first discourse on Be Unclutched, his explanation of the science of mind and emotions. Something clicked that night for sure in me that raised my interest, that I knew what he was saying had something to do with my life, the emotions, the emotional part, and the health. So I signed up for a 2-day meditation program that weekend. And when I entered this meditation program, I was on heavy medications, pain medication, hormone replacement therapy, mood elevators, and just, like I said, relaxed into my diagnosis. So I started the meditation program on Saturday morning, and by Saturday afternoon, the neck brace I had been wearing for almost 2 years, I removed that. I was feeling better, a little lighter. I wasn't sure what was happening, but I wanted to be better, and I was experiencing this with him. So it was a 2-day program. That night I went home and I was feeling exhilarated. I don't know, everything he said was clicking with me, and what exactly he said, I'm not sure what started that change, but everything started changing. And that night I grabbed a basket, I put all of my pain medications in there, my mood elevators, my hormone replacement therapies, everything went into the trash. And I got up, I only slept 2-3 hours. I got up the next morning, I went to finish this meditation program. When the program was over, I stepped outside. The colors were different, the air was different, my body was light. I felt like, I always use this word cotton, because it's so pure, light, and clean. I just felt like I was pure, light, and clean, like someone had taken lead out of my blood system. I couldn't explain it, but that's how I felt. And
So did you have a complete recovery at that point?
I never went back to the doctor.
So you never went back to the doctor.
No.
What about your symptoms? Did you continue to have the symptoms?
No,
of the
symptoms were totally gone by the end of the weekend. They
Wow.
were gone. They were gone by the end of the first day. That's why I bagged up all my medicine.
So how
There
long
was
did
no
you have the
depression.
symptoms before you had the recovery? How many years? did you-
8 years.
8 years. And then in 1 week they were gone completely.
Yes. Yes,
Wow,
totally.
that's an amazing recovery.
Totally uplifted my whole life. Everything changed, and of course made me curious into what it was he did. So I began to watch all of his videos, read his books. One thing that impressed me a lot was he recommended that I do the research online, that I read Dr. Bruce Lipton's Biology of Belief, that I look at the Messages from Water research by Dr. Emoto and how our thoughts affect things, thoughts become things, affect the water, change molecular structure. And then he said, understand how much water in your body changes with those thoughts. So he just said all the right things to encourage me to heal. It all started there.
So do you think it was you and a self-fulfilling prophecy in terms of you healing yourself, or do you feel that it was him and the fact that he was able to stimulate some kind of energetic field within you, or to go beyond your epigenealogy to stimulate you into health?
Not only did he stimulate that, but he started showing me or reminding me that this automatic intelligence is there. And he has it, he's able to awaken it in you. And it's just being in his presence, even though you think, I can't take the responsibility for this, I'm not smart enough, I don't know what's going on. Being in his presence, it just starts happening. And you just can't deny the change. You have to. That's why I say only the words can kind of express what I felt. Experiencing that, being in his presence, and just saying, I have no power over this. Suddenly it starts happening. So I know it's his energy because I felt it, I experienced it. And then I had a pause, 3-4 months without him, and watched my life change, and I thought, I need to do that again. So I had to revisit him, be in his energy field again, just to see if it was the energy I was feeling, and sure enough, it all happened in a bigger way.
So did the symptoms come back after you were away from him for a while?
No, I actually have not been to the doctor at all since I met him in 2006, except for a back injury, which I had to.
Okay, so it was a complete remission.
Complete, and plus I started actually, when I learned the science of chakras and the energies and what is happening with emotions, if I did feel some disease in my system because I'm locked up with an emotion, I learned to trace that back and see maybe what emotion is affecting my life right now, what's dragging me down, what's bringing me down, and when I spotted it and looked at it with awareness, it just seems to lift. You seem to heal on your own.
So Nithyananda basically says that your thoughts create your reality.
Yes.
So basically, your thoughts, you started to manipulate those variables, those newfound tools, so that you started to recreate your thoughts based on constructive patterns of thought versus destructive.
He gives us the choice. It's your choice. I mean, you can choose. And like I said before, I didn't want to be responsible for the word psychosomatic, or I'm just imagining this. But when you understand that it's not so much your imagination, but you're choosing this health, and you have power over that, then it all changes.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. So it's amazing to see that this enlightenment effect, can recreate the physiology so that it starts to become a radiating physical and psychological feature of health and vitality. How does this happen, and what is the actual process that goes into the individual as an intervention through Swami Nithyananda? So we're going to talk with Ingrid a little bit about the in effect, and it's a very deep subject. It's something that I'm still trying to figure out totally for myself. So
the same here, actually.
Yeah. What are your ideas about the in effect, and how do you think it's created?
Well, see, when we hear stories about miraculous healings like Sheila's, we all think that it's some kind of a coincidence and we don't apply. We can't reach that. But we are so very lucky that Swamiji Nithyananda gives us a scientific explanation to what is actually happening on the being level. Human beings have three parts. We are body, mind, and soul, and they are connected. And also, we are not an island. Swamiji says we are not an island as we think. We are all connected, the whole universe. And the beautiful explanation he gave us not too long ago is how we create our life and our reality, including our health, emotional balance, and our spiritual life. And what he said is that the cosmos, the way it exists, and whatever happens in the cosmos, it reflects on all of us. So whatever happens in the cosmos, including in all of us, we're all affected by that. So for example, the planets, let's say the macrocosm, whatever happens in the cosmos, it reflects on our neurobiology. So actually our brain reflects part of happening in the cosmos. And then based on our neurobiology, we create our biomemory. Biomemory are memories that are engraved in our body. They create blockages. It's energetic blocks in our system. And how that works, Swamiji says that whatever happens in the cosmos is reflected on our neurobiology, and we have 50% chance to change how it reflects on our brain. So half of that we can't change. The happenings in the cosmos are there. But 50% of that we can change how our brain is going to reflect those happenings. And further, the neurobiology affects our biomemory, our engraved memories, and we have 100% control of our engraved memories.
So engraved memories, can you talk a little bit more about what specifically that is?
Of course. Let's say you're growing up in a family where your mother is terrified of dogs. You're growing up with her showing this fear of dogs. And then later in your life you get bitten by a small dog. What do you think will happen? You will create a fear of small dogs, and you will try to avoid dogs for all your life.
Exactly.
It is a blockage that you created based on your experience or on family or social conditionings. You've seen it in your mom, and you've created your reality based on that. So your world is reflecting dogs are bad, and your life is reflecting that, right? And we create those memory blocks in all areas of our life. So this is what Swamiji Nithyananda is saying. We have 100% control over our biomemory.
And our biomemory, let's talk a little bit about specifically defined biomemory.
Biomemory is our energetic system. Our body is a mirror. Swamiji Nithyananda says that our body is like a mirror that reflects the consciousness, the ultimate intelligence of the cosmos. And when the mirror is broken or it doesn't reflect the light properly, we have many engrams, we have many engraved memories and blockages in our system. So here's where meditation comes in. We can meditate to dissolve the blockages. But what is the role of an enlightened master?
Yes, that's it. That's the key to this, isn't it? The in effect.
Exactly. Like Sheila was saying, in his presence, simply the disease dissolved. And how is that possible? Swami Nithyananda is a being that has all strains of DNA awakened. There are 12 strains, and most human beings have only 2 strains awakened. Well, he's a being that has complete awakening of the brain and the DNA. And when in his presence, the energy he radiates simply awakens. Awakens the same in us. It's a matter of coherence. It's coming to the same frequency. And that's what Sheila experienced in her body.
And in fact, as we're looking at the research based on brainwave coherence, when a person is meditating, a lot of research has been done by the Transcendental Meditation Organizations, and you can see this on YouTube, where the patterns in the brain become coherent. We have different waves in the brain. We have the alpha waves, the beta waves, and the gamma waves. The alpha waves are those waves that create a sense of restful alertness. And the gamma waves and the beta waves have more to do with gamma with focus or concentration, and then the beta waves have to do with the restlessness or the type of energy that you need to accomplish a task. When those 3 come together, there's a sense of coherence.
Yes.
So that you're able to accomplish the task, but you do that accomplishment through the state of restful alertness.
With no effort.
Exactly. So it just begins to flow.
Yes. And that's what happens when actually a group of people comes together. And it's like the experiment with different clocks that have pendulums moving at different speeds. You can notice that within minutes, those pendulums start vibrating or moving in the same frequency. And it's a simple science. The same happens with our brain. Like you said, our brain has patterns of energy of different frequencies. And when we sit together and we meditate, or there is one person whose frequency is aligned, the other brains will simply pick it up, and it's just a matter of coherence. It's an amazing tool to create this effect all over the globe.
So what our purpose here is to really focus on the individual in society who can actually rejuvenate and respond to a physical condition and overcome it completely, which we had many course participants do in the Inner Awakening Project this year. But the other aspect is through this in effect, we can create ripples in the environment through our own neurobiological activity and through working or moving together from that area of coherence and spreading coherence throughout the community as well as to the world. So that's what the in effect is all about, to create coherence not only within the individual, but to create it on a group level, group consciousness. And the TM organization has also done a project where they reduced the crime rate by 23% in Washington, D.C., at one of the highest levels of crime rate that had occurred in the United States for a long time. And they showed that this was a very significant improvement in the environment. So what we would like to do is create health and coherence in the world. And through Swami Nithyananda and through all of us working together, I think that will happen very soon.
So another thing that basically the whole concept we were talking about confirms is that we are not an island. When a group of people comes into a coherence, like Dr. Chance was saying, the whole community can vibrate in the same frequency and it can spread into the nation and then the whole world. We can basically, just by this, create a world full of peace, joy, and health. We can create health, we can create a blissful life in all human beings, and that's what Swami Nithyananda is proving.
So melting those engrams or melting those blockages that occur within the physiology, Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about traffic patterns in the brain. And he says that just like a traffic pattern in everyday life, to the degree that that pattern is repeated over and over and over again, then it creates congestion or it creates problems. If we shift those traffic patterns to a constructive interference, which means to create that neurophysiology of an enlightened mind, then we start to vibrate on a completely different level. And we transfer that bioenergy into our physiology and create a new body and mind. This can happen on the individual level, and it can happen on the group coherence level. So the perfect project now is to create world peace, health, and vitality through brainwave coherence.
And for any of you that have a problem with all of this scientific jargon, these words, thinking that you can't do this on your own, you don't quite understand what's being said here, just try attending one of these sessions, these programs with an enlightened master, and see if your health doesn't improve without any effort from you. See if something doesn't happen and adjust in your life just by being in this group consciousness and experiencing this enlightened master.
See, the interesting part about this experiment and about this research project is that Swami Nithyananda says that 90% of the recovery is a result of his direct transmission. Only 10% is because of the process. So his direct physical presence is needed to have a very strong, substantial, and permanent feature of constructive interference. Yes, he said you can experience it on a cellular level by watching on the YouTube or by observing a video, but to experience it on the bone marrow level, which is the word that he used to describe this, you need to be in his physical presence. So in terms of my educational research and development over the past 35 years, there is nothing more important to me than to be in the presence of someone who has the ability to create a field of total wellness and healing for both the individual and for the planet.